sludge clears out, you have clear skies ahead for Bitcoin, and you have a lot of demand for Bitcoin. It takes a very smart leader to pridefully say that Bitcoin sucks, and then 24 months later say, you know what, I've got this wrong. I said two things that you should pay attention to if you're an investor here. Well, you said something earlier, that if you're in it, you don't get out of it. Okay, so let's talk about 22 for a second. I could have been a monkey flipping coins, Scott, and I could have done a better job. Okay, every decision that I made in 2022 went bad. I bought more Bitcoin, bad. I bought more Ethereum, bad. Got long Solana, bad. I teamed up with Sam Bankman-Fried. Looked good in the beginning. We had a spectacular conference, Crypto Bahamas. I can't tell you the number of people that congratulated me on the partial sale of Skybridge to Sam in September of 2022. But by November, I was a goat. I had taken one and turned it into zero. You know how entrepreneurs like to go from 0 to 1? I went from 1 to 0. And so it was humiliating. It was brutal. I was subjected to 4.5 hours of testimony with the Department of Justice. I had to turn over my cell phones, my Signal, my WhatsApp. It was absolutely brutal. But here's the thing I would say to young people listening: you hang in there, okay? And you tell the truth, and you hang in there, and you own your mistakes. Because if you have integrity, there's always opportunity. There's always people looking to help you if you have integrity. And so by the end of 22, I thought 23 was going to be the worst year of my career. I was expecting Bitcoin to go to 8,000. I was expecting to hold it the whole way down. I was expecting the aftermath of Sam to deplete all of my assets. But, it turns out when you think things are really bad, that's probably where the bottom is. And lo and behold, our coin fund was up 160% last year. Our core fund of funds, which has crypto exposure, but also a collection of hedge funds, up 36%. And our sort of lower volatility fund was up 25%. So it was the best year of my career. Next 2 years for these funds will be spectacular, Scott. You mentioned my $170,000 prediction. So I just want to go into that with you for 30 seconds. That's a data dependent prediction. Go back and look at Bitcoin halving cycles. The day that the Bitcoin halves, multiply it by 4, 18 months later, and it's been uncanny that's been the price of Bitcoin. So I'm using a $35,000 number at the halving. If I'm, and that's conservative. You're correct. That is conservative. Let's say we're at 50,000 in April. Okay, then it's a $200,000 handle. Let's say we're at 60,000, it'll be 240. But my long-term price target is that Bitcoin gets to easily half the market capitalization of gold. Gold now at about 14.5 trillion. If Bitcoin goes to 7 or 8 trillion, that's a 10x from here. It's a $400,000 Bitcoin. And I think it would be ridiculous for people not to understand the asset, not to understand the dynamics of it as a store of value, and not to have a position. One last point, if you don't mind me saying this, we were the first money into BlackRock. I think I broke it on your.
You did.
I broke it on Wall Street's. We gave BlackRock the first money last January. They converted successfully into the ETF. This was the best ETF launch in ETF history. So we have some sludge going on with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. The real experts know that. But when that sludge clears out, you have clear skies ahead for Bitcoin, and you have a lot of demand for Bitcoin. You have institutional demand finally for Bitcoin, because it's now an asset that's wrapped in something that the hoi polloi can understand, and that the institutions can now be comfortable buying. So all of those things hopefully make me wrong about my prediction to the low side. But let's just say this: people need to get in there. They need to understand this asset. They need to work harder to do the research on an asset like this. The thing about this, because I was an FA, and I have distributed product into these wirehouses, they're cautious, they're slow moving, but when they get there, it's going to be overwhelming. Okay. And remember, this is a fixed supply asset. So, I mean, Jamie Dimon said something, and I watch his interviews very carefully because I think he's very smart. But he said, Satoshi's going to press a button, and it's going to create another 21 million Bitcoin. And okay, but that actually mathematically, and from a programming analysis and from a decentralized point of view, it actually cannot happen. But to say that, it either implies you're joking, or it either implies you don't have the expertise or the awareness, And so I don't know, maybe he's got the regulators on him and he doesn't want the regulators on him too hard, like the Elizabeth Warrens. But I got to tell you, it's not an informed view, and it's shocking because if you said to me, who is the smartest person in financial services, he's got to be in the top 5. I mean, he's done an unbelievable job at that bank, unbelievable job navigating the global financial crisis, unbelievable job of being there at the right time with the right core assets, meaning the bank never really shook or got knocked into insolvency. But I mean, this thing, I think he's just really missing. And you should know, if you have a private banking account at JP Morgan, you can call them today and say, I want to buy one of those ETFs. They will accept the order on an unsolicited basis. They will purchase it for you, and they will put that CUSIP in your account. So you can hold the BlackRock or the Fidelity ETF in an account at JP Morgan. I think that's meaningful because some of these other places, whether it's Vanguard or Merrill Lynch, Bank of America at this time, they say no, they won't even accept it on an unsolicited basis. I met with Larry Fink in November of 2020. I was in 2021, because it was closer, 2021. I was in the lobby of the Four Seasons Hotel in Abu Dhabi, on the El Mariana Island, where the global markets facility is for Abu Dhabi. We were standing there together. He says, you really like this Bitcoin? I said, I do. And then he looked at me and said, Bitcoin sucks. I said, it does? He goes, yeah. He goes, it's a stupid asset. It totally sucks. He goes, but I just made an investment in Circle. I think the blockchain is good. And I think that the stable coins on the blockchain will be successful. And so BlackRock just made an investment in Jeremy Allaire's company. I said to Larry, okay. I said, I think you're wrong. I just think you need to do more homework. Now, there's a guy named Robbie Mitchnick at BlackRock. He's a young kid. He came into BlackRock with the idea of creating a Bitcoin ETF. He orange pilled Larry. And I'm going to give Larry a lot of credit because Larry actually did the homework. Larry did the reversal. Larry was on the road to Damascus and converted as a result of being steeped in understanding exactly what it was and why it will be an international store of value. It takes a very smart leader to pridefully say that Bitcoin sucks, and then 24 months later say, you know what, I've got this wrong. BlackRock needs to be a part of this, and BlackRock needs to have a significant stake in it. So no, I don't think he's just talking his book. He's not that type of person. And he has said two things that you should pay attention to if you're an investor here. Number one, it's a store of value. And number two, it represents a flight to quality, Scott. I want you to think about that. Okay, this asset has experienced 100 vols. Okay, it's gone from 80 to 100 vols. We've seen the asset go from 69 to 16. We've seen it do all different types of haywire things. But the largest asset manager in the world, the CEO of that company, says it is a flight to quality. Okay, so that implies that he understands it. Last point of the story, it's now 23. It's January. Robbie comes to see us. My partner, Brett Messing, who I don't think you've met, he says to my partner, look, I'm getting a lot of bureaucratic resistance at BlackRock. I need some outside money in this Bitcoin trust. So we sent them 10 million bucks. We said, okay, we're in. And went to the ETF committee and said, we can raise outside money for this. And they said, okay, if you can raise outside money for this, let's give it a go. And they were watching that Grayscale case carefully. Their lawyers told them that Grayscale was going to win that case. And then they dropped the application.
And the first thing Larry Fink said after the Bitcoin spot ETF was approved was, we need an Ethereum spot ETF.
We need an Ethereum spot ETF. And oh, by the way, we're going to tokenize all these assets. The future of exchanges is going to be tokenization. Okay, so he actually has taken it a step further. It's not just, okay, I got a Bitcoin ETF. And remember, they're charging 21 basis points. Okay, is that going to really move the needle at BlackRock? No, it's not going to move the needle.
That's always my point. No matter how successful this thing is, no matter how much AUM it gets, it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of their total profit AUM.
100%. So he's doing this because of the intellectual gravitas associated with it. And he's doing it because he wants to be at the forefront of it. And he's also recognizing that, he's playing the back nine of his career. And he knows that part of his legacy will be, was I a visionary leader or did I get stuck in 1987? Let me tell you something. I have buddies of mine. I mean, they're mentors. They're in their 80s. I'm not going to name them because they'll piss them off. But they don't even read their email, Scott. So what they do is they have their assistant. The guy's 87. You send him an email. The assistant gets it. And then they turn to the guy and said, okay, Anthony said, read me the email. And they read him the email. And they say, okay, right back to Anthony. And then he dictate. They won't open the email. You don't want to be that person. You want to evolve and move with the times. You want to bring young people into your organization that can teach you about the future. Okay, you can give them maybe some experience on market volatility and handling crashes and not losing your cool when Sam Bankman-Fried is declared a fraud and he owns 30% of your company. You can give them some temperance and you give them some experience, but the young people can teach you about the future. And I give Robbie Mitchnick and Larry Fink a huge amount of credit for that.